It's March. Let's talk the Illini and let's talk bracketology.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. My name, of course, is Sunny Verma, your host right here. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. You can find me on all your favorite social media. Send me a message, say hello. Let me know what kind of content you want to see. This show is my show, but it is also your show. Today, I kind of want to take a step back from things. We got a little break in between games. Illinois, Purdue isn't until Friday evening. So today, I just wanted to step back and get a little bracketology talk going. Obviously, we're not going to know anything for certain until the end of that Big Ten tournament. But I figure let's just kind of get a temperature check on just how high and how low Illinois might be, once those final seedings come out. And for that, I'm going to be bringing on JBR from JBR Bracketology. JBR, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, no, thanks for the opportunity to join the show and talk a little Illini basketball, talk some Big Ten basketball.
Yeah, JBR was on my former show, Illini Cast, so make sure you subscribe to that channel as well. And he did such a fantastic job there. I couldn't wait to reach out to him this year, as things got a little bit more closer to the seeding purposes. Now, so JBR, let me just ask you a throwaway question. Again, you might laugh at this, but Illinois Illini Nation was panicking 10 days ago just because we had lost by 43 on national television to Duke, and a lot of fans are panicking that, hey, if Illinois doesn't win out, you're looking at 17, 18 wins for their season that they may not even have made the tournament. Were we overreacting at that point?
I think you were overreacting a little bit. I will say that, the last time a team finished 17-14 in the regular season and then ended up earning a bid was 2019. So it has been a while since a team has finished with that kind of record and gotten in. But, the Illini, even when they struggled throughout, parts of January into February, their predictive metrics still stayed strong. So, when it comes down to those last couple spots, it certainly helps. I mean, obviously right now, Illinois, I'm looking at KenPom now, is up to 19. But, I think at their lowest, they were kind of into the mid-20s. But certainly when you're comparing bubble teams and you're looking at a team in the mid-20s in all the predictive metrics and a team that's in the, say, 60s, it helps. But, yeah, I mean, obviously winning those last two games by 20 points apiece, Illinois is fine, right? They are nowhere near the bubble. I locked them, I believe, after the Iowa game once they got to 18 wins. I felt like the wins that they had already gotten, a couple of those non-conference wins really age well, right? Who saw Missouri being a 4 or 5 seed in the NCAA tournament? So I felt like with Illinois' non-conference and, just the depth of the Big Ten, there's really no easy games in the Big Ten. So to me, once they got to 18 wins with a couple of the games they were able to get in the non-conference, I was not worried about them at all. And then obviously, you add that dominant win over Michigan. I think Illinois, certainly some of those losses when they battle those injuries and illnesses and all of the above is going to hurt them a little bit, right? I mean, we can't just totally ignore that they lost those games. They still happened, but no, I think if Illinois beats Purdue on Friday, I think there's a really good chance that they end up as a 6 seed, which is not that bad. I mean, I think the 11s you're probably looking at a pretty good mid-major, most likely, at least as of now. Obviously, that could change, but that six seed is a nice spot to go on a run. Avoiding the 1 seeds, and we've talked quite a bit. I know not you and I, but just in general across the sport, like how elite these 1 seeds are, right? Auburn, Duke, Houston. I mean, there's some really good teams, and so avoiding the 1 line and really avoiding the 2 line until you get to the Sweet 16, I think it is a pretty nice path, all things considered.
Exactly right. As an Illinois fan, what we want to do is avoid that 8-9. Line, because again, we're recording on Tuesday, and so your latest release has us as the number 7 in the East on the East bracket, and the number one seed is Duke. But we talked about this big game coming up against Purdue. I guess you have us at 7 on Tuesday as of this recording. How low can they go? Let's just say they lose to Purdue and they lose in their first game in the Big Ten tournament. How low could they be? Could they fall to the 8, 9? Or do you think they're kind of locked in at 7? Or let's just say they beat Purdue and win a couple of games in the Big Ten tournament. Do you think 6 is the ceiling of where they could head to?
I definitely think they can fall to an 8. It's a little bit of a question mark when the committee actually votes seeds and scrubs those middle seed lines. But, Illinois is not, their first game is not going to be Friday. Their first game is probably Thursday of the Big Ten tournament. So there's a good chance that Thursday game will factor into how they vote along those middle seed lines. So, if they lose to Purdue, especially with that game at home, and go 0-1 in the Big Ten tournament, given that game is going to be someone that's probably in the bottom half of the Big Ten standings, I think at that point, you're probably looking at an 8 seed, maybe a 7, but I think an 8 was probably most likely. And then in terms of ceiling, if they beat Purdue, I think they'd have a really good shot at a 6 seed immediately, especially if they can win by margin like they have these last 2 games. And honestly, I wouldn't put it past Illinois to win by double digits versus Purdue. So, if they look healthy, if they're playing the way, the way I think a lot of people nationally think that Illinois can play at their ceiling, then I think that's going to help. Because at the end of the day, we can talk about the metrics, but we all know the metrics are a little bit skewed because of, some of those games that Illinois played shorthanded. So, if the committee can see that, all right, Illinois is playing like one of the best 12 or 13 teams in the country, like they are human. I do think that will help Illinois seed. I think it would be hard to get to a 5 seed if I'm being honest, but like we said, a 6 seed is a really good spot to be. Even the 7s, depending on which 2 seed you get, could be a good spot. Obviously, Illinois would not be in the same pod with Michigan State because they played and are in the Big Ten. But I think a 6 seed could be a really good spot for Illinois to make a deep run.
Yeah, to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, all season long, Illinois, whether it's warranted or not, has been talked about a lot by the national media. And you use the key word that I say almost tongue in cheek now. But it's true. When you talk about the ceiling of this basketball team, it's always been very, very high. Now, whether it's, been shown on the court, in particular in the month of January and some parts of February. Now, there's reasons for that, but I'm not going to sit here and make excuses now about, injuries and, illnesses. But the reality is now when it comes to the seeding process, you're right. Like all that talk from the national media about Illinois' top very high ceiling might come in handy in this regards. And we may be given a benefit of the doubt if we end up ending the season pretty strong. But, before I let you go, JBR, let me ask you about some of our brethren in the Big Ten Conference. I'm talking about like who may or may not make it into the tournament. I'm thinking along the lines of like the Indianas, the Ohio States, the Nebraskas. Am I missing out on anyone else who's kind of on the 50-50 line?
No, those are kind of the 3 Big Ten teams that are squarely on the bubble. I don't think any other team is really close, either in the field close to the bubble or out of the field close to the bubble. So it's really just those 3 teams. I think Indiana's in pretty good shape. They just need to win one of these last 2. They have at Oregon and then they have Ohio State at home. As long as they win one of those, they're good. It is interesting that Ohio State plays 2 of these teams. But I think Indiana's fine as long as they win one of the 2. Ohio State's interesting because they've just played such a hard non-conference strength of schedule. They do have a couple really good wins. They beat Kentucky on a neutral court and they won a road game at Purdue. So they do have a couple really elite wins. But like I said earlier, unless they go 2-0 here, they finish 17-14. And 17-14 is a lot of losses. And I know they've played a hard schedule, but it's a lot of losses. So to me, they're going to have to win ideally 2 in the Big Ten tournament, which would get them to 19-15. And that's what I believe each of the last 3 teams that finished 17-14 and ultimately got a bid, they all 3 won 2 games in their conference tournament to get them to a 19-15 final record. So, for Ohio State, if they're able to finish 2-0, I think that they're in for sure. I mean, 18-13, their resume metrics would look great. They would have some really good wins and a ton of quad 1 wins. So I think they'd be great. I think they'd be in great shape with a 2-0 finish. 1-1, they're going to need to win at least 1, probably 2 in the Big Ten tournament in order to get in. And then, Nebraska has just really struggled the last couple of weeks. It's been a little disappointing to follow, quite frankly. I mean, they were pretty safe a couple weeks ago, and they just can't seem to find a way to win. They had that crazy comeback win on the road at Northwestern 2 weeks ago, and then ever since then, they can't seem to get back on the right track. If they're able to finish 2-0, again, just like Ohio State, they're going to be in great shape, borderline lock. If they go 1-1, they're going to need to win at least a game or 2 in the Big Ten tournament. And if they go 0-2, I think they need to win the Big Ten tournament. And same can be said for Ohio State in that regard too, because Ohio State, at that point, you'd be looking at 16-15 regular season record, and that's just not good enough.
All right. In a world where there's so many bracketologists popping up left and right, JVR, you continue to excel and be one of the cream of the crop when it comes to that. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Go Illini.
Get the supplies you need from the site made for the skilled trades, SupplyHouse. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, SupplyHouse is a reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast and from coast to coast. Need help with an order? SupplyHouse offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you'll always talk to a real person. And for trade pros looking for an extra edge, their free Trade Masters program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use promo SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. And welcome back to another segment, of Locked On Illini. I'm caught off a little balance because there's breaking news again as I'm recording, as sometimes it happens. So I pushed down what I was originally going to talk about, the Josh Whitman speaking to Congress news, to talk about this. And that's Art Sikowski getting a promotion to become the official co-quarterbacks coach for the Illini. This was a move that I'm very excited for, and that's why I kind of bumped it up. Art is a future superstar in this industry. Let me get to the comments first. Brett Bielema says, in a statement, Art continues to impress in our building every day. He brings an exceptional energy and passion for Illinois football, and we're excited to be able to promote him from within our program. His voice, knowledge, and demeanor will continue to be a great asset for our current student athletes and also on the road in recruiting. And also we have Barry Lunny Jr. said, Art's knowledge of our system and ability to coach, teach, and connect with our quarterbacks has been extremely important in the development of our offense. He's a special coach with unique leadership abilities, and I'm excited to continue our work together as we grow and develop our quarterbacks room. And finally, Art himself released a statement saying, I am extremely blessed and thankful for the opportunity from Coach Bielema and the staff to continue to be part of this great organization and university. This university has changed my life because of the people in the Smith Center and around Champaign-Urbana community. I'm excited to continue to work and develop our quarterbacks and student athletes, not only in football, but in life. ILL. again, Art is one of those guys where he's a booming star in this industry, right? Right now, a lot of Illini fans, even when Lovie Smith was let go, some even mentioned having Nathan Shieldhouse, former Illini quarterback, come in and be a head coach just because of the rocket ship of a trajectory he was on in the coaching ranks. And while he was probably not ready for a head coaching job, Nathan right now, even as of this recording on Tuesday, Sean McVay actually released a statement on Shieldhouse saying that it's a future star in this industry, a future head coach and whatnot. And I really think Brett Bielema did the right thing here. And Josh Whitman did the right thing here, trying to go ahead and locking down Art Sikowski. Art's a kid who has built relationships. The background story is obvious, right? He was a starter for Rutgers. He came to Illinois to play for a season. And then he realized that maybe his future wasn't quite behind center. And so what he really did enjoy doing was being a coach. And so he's kind of been serving on staff as a GA and as an assistant quarterbacks coach for Brett for a couple seasons now. And again, if you just follow the tweets, and I'm talking about the recruits, the top quarterbacks that, including like Trey Taylor, the top quarterbacks that Illinois is pursuing, Art Sikowski is leading the charge for those guys. He's young enough, he's 24 years old, that he can connect to that generation. And quite honestly, if I'm going to be like, I am not surprised that Illinois offered him this bump, because I was almost expecting another team or another coach to recognize what Art is doing and coming and hiring him and giving him a promotion of some sort. So I'm so relieved that Brett recognized that and gave Art a promotion himself. Look, Barry and Art work very closely together. And if the Illinois offense has another good season this year and Barry Lunny Jr. moves on and becomes a head coach at a school somewhere next year, I would not be surprised at all if Art Sikowski follows Barry to his new destination and has a very prominent role in that coaching staff. The two work really, really well together. And again, we have one of the best offensive coordinators in the Big Ten Conference in Barry Lunny Jr. I know it's been up and down, but I think it's been far more up than it has been down. And Art is just a guy where I don't know much about him outside what I read, right? And so everything I've read, and that's just including relationships, which is just so key for this Illinois team, shows me just how important Art was to the staff. And I'm so glad and appreciative that he was recognized with this raise. Art's main focus when it comes to the recruiting territory for Brett Bielema is New Jersey and the state of Florida. Two of the states that are honestly big parts and big focuses of this Illini football team. So again, it's not like Brett is putting Art in the shallow end. No, Art, he believes in Art enough, and he's seen the relationship that he's been able to build and the skill that he has in doing so, just kind of throw him in the deep end. And I would still argue one of the coolest parts of having Brett Bielema as your head coach, and it's not just, you're always going to have a pretty solid program, a very high floor, is that a lot of the up-and-coming coaches in this industry want to work for Coach Bielema. They understand that Brett has a huge Rolodex of contacts, whether it's in the college profession or in the NFL now, where he spent the last couple of seasons when he was not working in the college sports. And right now, it's just whether it's Corey Parker, Art Sikowski, Barry Lunny Jr., all these rising stars in the industry all want to work for Brett. And so if knowing the type of talent that's out there, knowing that a job at Illinois on the football side is very coveted, again, not necessarily because of the prestige of our football program, not yet at least, but because a lot of these young coaches want to work for Brett Bielema. And so when a position opens up, there's going to be a lot of applications, a lot of people interested in that spot. But Brett recognized Art and had him in-house and decided to keep him in-house. And I just think ultimately in the long run, I might be coming back to this very episode 8-9 years from now when Illinois announces Art Sikowski is their new head coach, Illinois football team. And, of course, hoping at that point that Brett Bielema is retiring and you kind of have an easy transition to Art at that point. Again, I wanted to kind of bring this up real quick in the second segment, just because I do think it's a fantastic news. It's one of the better, it's been a great season for football. This news kind of kicks off just what I think could be just even more good news for next year's football team. Having Art in the fold and not hired by somebody else for a lot of money for a promotion of a position, I think it's good news all around. And I'm really happy Brett went with this direction. Oftentimes I talk about how fortunate Illinois is to have Josh Whitman as their athletic director. And so this comes to no surprise to me, but I feel like it just further proves my argument that Josh Whitman was on Capitol Hill on Tuesday discussing essentially the future of college athletics and just talking about how in some sort of ways, there should be some sort of bipartisan regulation of where college sports is headed in order to keep college sports, the sport that we all grew and love. And while the details of what he discussed were very dry, there's a bunch of Twitter accounts that you can get more in-depth details on. Jeremy Warner from Illini Inquirer did a fantastic job. Just follow a couple of his tweets. The Illinois Rivals account listed a good solid 5 bullet points, basically rounded up the points on being, and you can actually read what he wants to say online. It's released, so it's not something you just have to watch the video for. Look, guys, this week the ACC announced the Florida State's, Clemson's. They're basically rearranged their financial agreements, I guess you can say, and their media rights, much like everyone else, is going to kind of align with the 2030, 2031 timeline. And this is no secret. I've said this before, and I'm going to continue saying this. If you enjoy Illinois athletics, if you enjoy college athletics the way you're watching it today, enjoy it while you can. Because while I think the conference movement has settled down for a little bit, everything points to me right now towards the Super League happening in 2030, 2031. And I just think with all the media contracts ending is at almost the same time, that's not a coincidence. And normally, if I'm a fan of a school like the University of Illinois, that's going to be bad news for us and the alumni and the fans, just because Illinois isn't the traditional football powerhouse. And trust me, I know we're good at basketball, but football is what carries everything. Football is the moneymaker when it comes to college athletics and the industry in general and the TV media deals. Now, we can sit here and hope that Brett Bielema continues to have Illinois on an upward trajectory and we win 8, 9, 10 games for the next 4 or 5 seasons. Then all of a sudden, our football team does get more legitimacy. But of course, if you follow the history of Illini football, that should be expected. And so for us, what might be one of the saving graces is that Josh Whitman is the athletic director of the University of Illinois. It's become very obvious over the past year that anytime there's a big, important decision being made when it comes to college athletics, Josh Whitman is almost always involved. Whether it's by committee, his input is very much valued by the industry, by the other ADs. And it's not just me. Take a look at the social medias. Let's just use today as an example. Josh Whitman being at Capitol Hill, you see a bunch of quote tweets saying, this guy's a future star. How long before he's running the Big Ten? Or when does he move on to the NFL? It's clear as day that Josh Whitman is one of the brightest persons, not just in college football, but in sports in general. And Josh could have been successful in whatever career path he chose. We are just fortunate that he decided to come to Illinois. He decided to play football at the University of Illinois, and he applied for the AD position here, and he was selected. Because when I say Illinois hit a grand slam with the hire of Josh Whitman, I'm underselling it. This is one of those moments where it's down 3, bottom of the 9th, 2 outs, and then you hit the grand slam. Josh Whitman might go down ultimately as the most important figure in Illini history. And that means a lot. Think about it. I'm talking about guys like Red Grange, the creators of this sport. Dick Butkus, all these guys. Those guys are on the pantheon, on the Mount Rushmores of college athletics, as it is. But I'm telling you, when it comes to Illinois sports and the future of Illinois sports, Josh Whitman, I genuinely believe his name's going to be right up there with all of them. And the fact that it's not necessarily going to be for his playing career, but what he's done post his playing career, we should all just be very grateful that and hopeful that he wants to stay here for as long he wants to stay here. And that's going to wrap it up for today's edition of Locked On Illini. Again, we're getting actually so close to 2,300 subs. I feel like just last week, I was hoping to get to 2,200 subs. And because it probably was last week, we're doing a fantastic job here, gaining new subscribers each and every day. And again, if you are a loyal YouTube subscriber, please do me a favor. Find me on your favorite audio platform, whether that's YouTube podcast, Spotify, Pocket Cast, Apple, whatever it might be. And just leave a good review. Leave a 5-star review, leave a question, leave a comment. If you want me to, I'll read the comment here on the air. And of course, if you want to talk Illini sports all day, every day, make sure you join our Discord. The Discord also grows each and every day. And now we're almost at 100 people all across the country just talking about various topics, usually centered around the Illini, but not necessarily all the time, just sports, life, all of that. I'm very grateful. I've got one of the biggest communities when it comes to the Locked On Network compared to other shows, and it's all because of Illini fans just like you. So I hope you help me continue to grow this community. And until next time, ILL, love you guys.